If you're looking to start a violence prevention or intervention program in your community, you need to know this. There are two approaches that seem almost identical on the surface, but operate from completely different playbooks. GVI, Group Violence Intervention, and CVI, Community Violence Intervention, might look like two sides of the same coin, but flip that coin over and you'll see a story about urgency versus longevity and pressure versus partnership. The real question isn't just what they do, it's why they do it differently. And understanding that difference can mean the difference between a program that works and one that misses the mark. Okay, so let's start with GVI. Group Violence Intervention, often called Focused Deterrence, is fundamentally a law enforcement-based model. It's designed around traditional crime reduction strategies, which is why it's often preferred by law enforcement agencies. And here's how it works. GVI uses data to pinpoint networks of individuals involved in violent activities. Then it delivers a direct message. We know who you are, we want the violence to stop, we're here to support you if you want out, but if not, consequences are coming. GVI approach applies strategic pressure through the notification and call-in processes. The notification process is this. The individual who law enforcement is targeting is sent a direct communication either by mail or a knock on the door. In this communication is outlined their involvement in the high-risk behavior, an offer of support, and a warning of legal consequences if violence continues. The call-in process is very similar, except for a structured meeting is set up where the individual hears from law enforcement, community leaders, and service providers. Ideally, they're also going to have family members, friends, or someone else who they respect and has some influence on their lives. A unified message is then sent. Stop the violence, support is available, and legal consequences are real if you continue down this path. The idea is simple. Make the cost of violence outweigh the perceived benefits of the lifestyle that they're living. But here's the catch. For many individuals living these high-risk lifestyles, incarceration isn't a deterrent. It's actually expected and normalized. For some, prison or even death is seen as part of the lifestyle. GVI to be effective, it must be implemented with fidelity. That means that individuals who have influence and respect of the individual must be a part of the process. Community organizations must be actively involved. Social services should be present, offering real alternatives to the lifestyle that they're living. Lastly, law enforcement is just one part of a broader support system. When done right, GVI can create the space for change through deterrence. But it's the community partners that fill that space with opportunities for change. On the other side of that coin that we talked about earlier is community violence intervention. CVI is a community-based public health approach. It focuses on relationships, trust, and addressing the root causes of violence. CVI isn't about threats or consequences. It's about connection grounded in the social science of behavior change. CVI workers are often individuals with lived experiences that mirror the lifestyles and the experience of those who they serve. They're credible messengers. Sometimes they're violence interrupters. They're mentors and case managers. Their work isn't just about building relationships. It's about applying evidence-based strategies rooted in behavioral science to drive long-term change. So this includes building authentic, trusting relationships as a foundation for behavior change. These relationships establish credibility, which is critical for influencing thought patterns and behaviors. CVI workers apply principles from psychology and behavioral economics to shift mindsets, reframe decision-making processes, and disrupt cognitive biases that sustain high-risk behaviors. The job also includes mediating conflicts in real time to prevent violence. This is more than de-escalation. It involves leveraging knowledge of social dynamics, conflict theory, and trauma-informed practices to alter the trajectory of potential violent incidents. CVI workers assess risk factors, identify behavior triggers, and employ tactical interventions to prevent violence escalation. Another really important part of CVI work is connecting individuals to support services like mental health counseling, job opportunities, education, and housing. Now, this isn't just about resource referral. It's a targeted effort to address structural determinants of behavior. By stabilizing critical areas such as employment, education, and mental health, CVI workers help reduce the environmental and the psychological conditions that fuel violence. Now, while community violence intervention can collaborate with law enforcement when necessary, it's independence to build trust, especially in those instances where community and police relationships are strained. CVI operates on the belief that violence is preventable, not inevitable, and CVI uses scientifically grounded intervention models to address both the immediate risk and the systemic factors that perpetuate violence. So to boil it all down, it comes to this: GVI equals urgency. It disrupts violence quickly by using deterrence, where CVI equals longevity. It changes behavior through science and social supports. GVI and CVI aren't necessarily competing approaches. In many contexts, they can complement each other. When implemented with fidelity, GVI can create the strategic leverage needed to swiftly disrupt cycles of violence and reduce immediate threats. CVI, on the other hand, fills that space with tactical support and connection, offering opportunities to address risk factors and root causes of violence, like trauma, poverty, and inequality. It seeks to cure the disease rather than just suppressing the symptoms. One disrupts cycles of violence, the other elicits behavior change. Both approaches can be useful, especially when paired together, and most importantly, when implemented with fidelity. After that long explanation, I really want to hear from you. Is there more that you want to learn about GVI or CVI? Do you believe that the threat of legal consequences like incarceration can truly deter individuals living high-risk lifestyles? Drop your vote in the comments. Share your thoughts with me. Your perspective is what really matters.